Hey guys, thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you sharing our story with us.
Thank you so much. We're so delighted to be a part of this program. Thank you.
Thank you. So, when you first came to see me, what were you struggling with?
I'm struggling with a lot, to be honest. I had very low energy levels, symptoms like basically every day, including like headaches, nausea, like just constantly feeling very sick, having to be in bed a lot, miss a lot of school, which was really
So
tough in my
much.
high school years. Um, yeah, and just not really being able to have much of a social life or an academic life or really just a whole life at all, really. Yeah.
It's so true. She said spent most of her time in bed. It was incredibly difficult as a parent to watch her just have no energy whatsoever, just miss days and days and barely even be able to get up to have food. Sometimes I just have to give food to her in her bedroom because she just physically didn't have the energy to get up.
Hmm.
Very
There were
hard.
lots of food reactions as well, right?
Yeah, I was on a very strict diet because I would just react to a lot of different foods, just very sensitive to a whole lot of different things. Um, so I had to be very careful with what I ate and what I was around, which also made it very hard, like I said, socially, being able to go out, not being able to eat anything at all, really. Yeah.
Exactly. So at school, that had teachers who'd be aware of that she wouldn't be able to have bananas nearby. And so they would almost like quarantine her away from different students, or it was quite difficult during that time. So she had more, had a lot of histamine issues. And so, and histamine is in so many foods. And it was just a challenge as a mother also to try and feed her because we had to learn a lot about what had high histamine in different foods, and that was a challenge also to know how to manage that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And what was your energy out of 10 at that time?
I'd say maybe a three according to like the scale that you have on the pre-call forms. I was pretty much like consistently in bed most of the time. I could get out of bed and I'd make it to school some days and be out around in the house, but I wasn't able to exercise or really do much like outside of going to school and then having to like rest when I got home, or even sometimes rest at school.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I'd say like a three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is it now? What's your energy now?
It was nice for this call before this. I was able to put for the first time a 9 out of 10, and I was able to do exercise recently. And I've had so much energy. Like I've been able to go to school, like meet a friend for coffee after school, do homework, go see someone at night, like just so many different things that I could do all in one day and do like runs and hikes and swimming and everything, which is really cool to just feel like so energized every day.
Life is so different now. It has been wonderful to see her be just have so much fun with friends to go out. And she said actually one time, she said, you know, it makes a real difference when you've actually been to school and you actually learn the stuff at school. When you take an exam, you know how to do that because you know you've heard the stuff at school. Whereas before she was going to having to catch up all the time, which was very stressful,
Yeah.
incredibly stressful to try and catch up, but yet she didn't have the energy to catch up. So that
Yeah.
was hard. But now I hardly ever see her. She's such a social butterfly. She's always driving around here and there and everywhere.
Yeah. And also just another thing to add on to that, like academically thinking a lot better. Like when I first started with Dr. Evan, I was like, I like, couldn't do very well in school. Even if I was there, I wouldn't take anything in. I couldn't apply any of the like work that I went over. And now like school's just been so much like more of a joy to go to. Not that like I absolutely love it, but it's like I actually enjoy my classes and I understand like what I'm learning and I'm able to apply it and actually do quite well now, which has been like a huge improvement. So
It has. She's gone very well in her last semester's report. It was all A's and it's like, this is fantastic. Can't believe this. So yeah, awesome.
Amazing. Amazing. Congratulations. And you guys were seeing a functional medicine doctor before you came to see me. Why do you think you weren't getting better with that doctor?
I would say that she had to manage a lot of different clients with lots of different issues. It was more like a general overview. So she was really, really helpful. But part of the thing was that she had a lot of clients. So it was hard to book appointments with her, especially if like I was really sick on a specific day and it was like, we really need help, like we don't know what to do. You couldn't just get an appointment straight away. And even though she did a lot of research in her own time as well, she wasn't like specific on energy or specific on like the different infections and stuff I had. So I think we were kind of like looking for someone that was able to like specialize specifically and like had more understanding on the specific issues that I had. So yeah, that's why it's been really helpful being with you, but also having like the what's it called, the better practice better, being able to message you when I am actually sick in the moment, being like, what do we do, like what medication should we have, and being able to have these calls every month and just knowing that like whatever questions we have, we can like keep them for when we have our call, which is really helpful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of hand holding, and we've really appreciated that. And you've always been around for us from that. And that's been incredibly valuable, especially when you feel very vulnerable when she gets very sick, because, you know, everything changes. And I also wanted to say, I actually found you, Dr. Evan, because of going to the MCAS summit. And I listened to all the different people, and I really liked, there were several people who thought, that's fantastic, I love that. But what I particularly liked about your approach was your 4-step approach. It made a lot of sense to me. And I liked the way that, you know, you just go through progressively through those different stages. And I also saw such value in step 3, for instance, where you had to open up the detox pathways. Like, you know, if you don't open the detox pathways, then you're not going to be able to get rid of all those toxins, you know, chemicals, molds, all those sort of things, because it's going to get stuck inside. And so your whole approach really made a lot of sense to me, and we valued the progression through that. Yeah.
Thank you. And so what do you think? You guys are in South Africa.
Yeah.
And so were you surprised that I was able to work worldwide, or were you just assuming that that was the case, or when did you figure that out? Or did you, because a lot of doctors aren't able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were just, you're right. Like we thought that there would be time differences. We thought that we wouldn't be able to have that connection with you as much as, but you were incredibly faithful in the way that we were able to connect with you. And you also worked with us very well. The only thing we probably have found incredibly hard is just with our customs here, trying to get products has not been easy at all. And so luckily, because we're Australians living in South Africa, we've been able to get people from other countries bringing things into us. But yeah, otherwise it has been quite difficult to try and access the things that you've recommended. And we've really wanted to get those things, but we've really appreciated the way that you've been able to give us alternatives if they were not available to us.
Yeah. And I would say like I think at first I thought it was a bit like, I didn't think it would be easy to have a doctor in America being here, because you're so used to like going to the doctor and like seeing them in person and then being able to like check certain things and, you know, see certain things in person. But it's actually been like really good doing it online, like way better than I expected. And I don't think there's been like a hold of like, oh, that's so hard that we're not there, except for like getting certain medications and stuff. It's actually worked really well, having the calls, being able to send photos on the better, practice better. So yeah, I was surprised that it worked as well as it did, but yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, exactly. And sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, a lot of people are so used to the traditional paradigm that they're like, well, you know, I don't know about being on Zoom.
Yeah.
And so it seems like it really worked for you guys, and in some ways it worked better. You know, you had more access, you know, you actually don't have to leave your home. You know,
actually, that's what I was going to say is that you're right, because when she was so very sick, the last thing I want to do is actually physically go to see a doctor. Yeah. This way we were actually able to just drag her out of bed, wrap a blanket around her, and she was just able to communicate. You would actually see her, and but she didn't have to get out of her own house, and so that was really good.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. No, and you know, there's some people who are still in bed when they're on these calls. You know, and so sometimes the camera's on, sometimes it's off, you know, and they're lying there or whatever, depending on what kind of day they've had, you know, because it's not linear, you know, some days you feel better than others, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And I found like even when I was feeling really sick, sometimes I'd be very out of it, like very tired, and I couldn't really speak a whole lot. And even then, like those sessions were still very valuable. Like you'd think it'd be a bit of like waste of time if you're just kind of sitting there not being able to interact a lot, but it was nice knowing that like you understood kind of how I was feeling, and it wasn't like I had to explain like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm feeling like this, I can't do this. It's like the session was still really valuable, and you were able to like help exactly what I needed in that moment. So that was also really good. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things you guys commented on is patience. Patience and accommodation. I guess my question is like, what do we do well that you feel like has been supportive for you?
Yeah, I really appreciated Mickey as well. Mickey is just such a sweetie, and she is just there for you, and so encouraging. And I've really appreciated just being able to check on about different things for her. She's got a different role to what you've got, but I've really appreciated her kindness and her understanding as well, because she's also gone through hard times, and she's to being able to relate to that from her experience. But she's also incredibly knowledgeable in her own right, which is just wonderful. And from you, I've really appreciated just you are so patient, so kind, so just you've got such a kindness that we really appreciate. You've really cared for us, and we've really felt your care and your you would do anything to help us, and we've really felt that on this side of the world. So I appreciate that. In terms of Gabriella and the team, they've been so wonderful as well. Just very working with us in terms of times and trying to work out schedules and time differences. Always answering our emails so beautifully, just with such encouragement and so sweet. The team have been a wonderful team. We've appreciated. And then on the community as well, actually, I've gone to the Heartbeat at different times and really appreciated just hearing the different things that people are going through, and then just looking at the comments, and it's been encouraging to see where people have also made progress, and some of the challenges they've worked through, and then other people in the community being able to support each other. So that's been lovely.
Yeah, and I also think like it's been very like genuine appointments that we've had, and genuine like connection. Like I think a lot of the time you'll go to a doctor and they'll be like, okay, what's the issue? Like, we'll sort it out. Okay, bye. Like, next person. Where it's really nice, like over like the time we've been with you, we've like you ask about how we're doing, and like, oh, how's this thing that you told me about last time, and oh, did you get a haircut, and oh, did this happen? Like, and it's really lovely that like you guys care more outside of just like, okay, what's your symptoms? Let's deal with it. Okay, bye. See you next month. So that's been really lovely. And also, like I said before, being very patient in terms of like answering all our questions. Even when I ask them like every call, or like I don't understand. Yeah, and I think also, like my mom said, you've been very like knowledgeable in the whole situation. Sometimes I ask questions that are very like not specific at all, and like don't really make a whole lot of sense, and you're like, oh yeah, no, it's probably this, like we can try this. So yeah, that's been really helpful, and just also patient in terms of like how slow you had to take the whole thing. Like, it's not just like you can put us on a whole bunch of medications, like, okay, cool, like we'll hope for the best. It's been very much like, okay, we'll try this, that didn't work, we'll try this, okay, let's try this dose or this. And that's been really lovely as well, just like how you've really cared for like how my body reacts to things, and wanting me to be healthy, even like while trying new medication and having diet and stuff. So yeah, that's also been nice.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize that you can go slow and you can still have success. And I think that we did that with you, right? I mean, we're increasing by drops, every week or so, and it feels like it's taking forever, but now a year and a half later, you've gone from a 3 to a 9.
Exactly. So good. So good. Yeah.
So what can we do better? What do you feel like are some holes that I can do better, that my team can do better? I'd love any feedback you have. Besides being in South Africa and bringing you yourself.
Yes. Exactly. That's fine. But that's not your issue. That's our customs. I don't think there is
Be more responsive, on the messaging or anything like that.
I wouldn't say on the messaging. I think the only like slight thing we've had, but I think it was more just a technical difficulty rather than anyone on either side. Sometimes it was a bit tricky when booking appointments. Like Gabriella would send some times, and then I think I'd reply, maybe also to the time zone, but I would reply and say like, okay, yeah, that time's good. And then by the time that's set back, like I would get an email saying like, we've got your automated message, like we'll respond to you soon. And by the time Gabriella then replied, she'd be like, oh, sorry, like we lost the appointment, like this time works. A lot of the times it was going back and forth, like, okay, this works, okay, no, we lost it, okay, this works. So I think that was the only thing. But honestly, like that was because of time zones and like I know that you're quite busy as well. So it's lots of different things that contribute to that. So maybe that, but besides that, I think it's really good on like practice better and heartbeats. And nothing specific.
No. I think it's been just, and I think that it's really hard for you trying to work with getting supplements, to us. And I really appreciate you've got American, but you've also got the America as well. And that's wonderful. So
And now the iHerb, and hopefully the iHerb will be more.
Yeah, I have the same sort of thing too. The customs is just hard, but that's
just this one. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you. Couple more questions. So then, for people who are watching this who are struggling with chronic fatigue syndrome, other symptoms related to chronic fatigue, what sort of message of hope do you have for them?
I think when you start the program, it'll feel very like demotivating. I'm not gonna lie. You're like, I feel like nothing's really happening. I'm still really sick, and it is really tough. Like you have some calls where afterwards you kind of just feel like crying, and you're just like, it's not like I don't know what to do, and it's tough always having to like talk about it and be like, okay, this isn't being good. Oh, this is worse again. Oh, this got better, but no, now it's worse again. So there's a lot of ups and downs. But you eventually do get to a point where you realize like, oh my gosh, like, wow, I'm actually doing a lot better than I was like a year ago when I look back. And sometimes not even a year, sometimes like a month from like when I last had my appointment, I'm like writing down all the symptoms I have, or like writing down how I'm doing. And I'm like, wow, like I'm actually doing so much better. So I will say it can be a very slow process, especially for me, like a lot of the different supplements we tried and drops and stuff, we really had to reevaluate. But eventually you do get to a point where you notice slight improvements, and then those improvements become bigger, and then you're like, okay, wow, like so many different areas of my life are improving. And I will say like you don't actually realize like how many things are affected in your life until you get healthy again. Because when you're sick, you're like, oh, like life is just so hard. But when you get healthy, you're like, oh wow, like my social life's so much better, and oh, my work or like my school's doing better, and like I'm eating a lot nicer, and like I'm just enjoying life so much more and just appreciating things a lot more. And I think like being sick in the moment is really tough, but it does also help you really appreciate things later on, like appreciate like eating food you couldn't eat before, like going for a walk, and like just different things like that, which is so amazing. And also for people that like have symptoms every day, there is also hope. Like you're not gonna always have symptoms every single day. I was always like, oh, maybe one day I'll be better, but I'll still have a headache every day, or I'll still have this every day. But genuinely, like when I write down my symptoms down, I'm like, oh no, nothing, like I've been so good, like I don't have any symptoms, like maybe a thing here or there, but like overall feeling really good. And you do, like you're able to start doing the things you want to do and try new things as well. And so I was like for me as well, as my confidence has grown a lot since I've been feeling better. So yeah, just stick in there and it will get better eventually.
Well said.
Absolutely. Very well said.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when I tell people the magic happens at month 9, and this is going to take at least 12 months, right? A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, that's such a long time. But, in hindsight, it's just a blip, in a lifetime of 70 plus years or whatever we get, right? It's just a year. And, dedicating that amount of time can really turn your life around.
Absolutely.
And another thing I'll also just add on to that, like that was something I had to kind of overcome. So if it can help someone else, is like the year-long program, sometimes it does have to be longer than a year. I think when I completed my first year and we had to like extend it for longer, I was like, what's the point? Like, I guess it's not working. It's just, I don't want to do it anymore. And it was really tough for me to then continue on for longer because I was like, when is it going to end? But even if you have to do it for another couple months or even another year or whatever, it is definitely like worth it in the end. And everyone has their own like timeline they have to kind of work on. And so it might not be a year, it might not be 2 years, but like eventually it definitely is worth it. And the whole time you will see little improvements along the way, which is very encouraging. So yeah.
Well said.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add, Mom?
No, I think she actually communicated that all very well.
She did. She did. Excellent. Superstar student right here.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on and sharing your experience. It's really valuable and it's really heartwarming for me to see the transformation that you've gone through and what your life looks like. Like the fact that now college and like whatever you choose to do in your life, you're going to be so much more resilient.
Yes.
You've been doing the mindset and the nervous system retraining, yeah, I think you're using all the tools that we teach really well, and they're really going to serve you well in the future. So thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Is it all right if we use this in our marketing?
Yes, of course.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.